Now let's work on creating our UVs, and we'll start with the simplest sections and then get more complicated as we progress. And let me move this panel out of the way, and I'll turn on Dynamic Solo. What that's going to do is make it so that only the active subtool will show up. It just makes it a little bit easier to see what we're up to. And we want to use UV Master, which is another Z plugin in the same area where we were working with Decimation Master. And the eyeballs are so simple that all we have to do is click on Unwrap. And then we'll see up top it says current subtool was unwrapped and that we have 2 islands. Now we can flatten out these eyeballs. Actually, let me show you something else. If I press D to turn this back into smooth mode and then click on flattened, sometimes they'll display kind of oddly. I don't know why they're not showing it strangely now. But yeah, if they show up kind of oddly, just press Shift D to turn it back to unsmoothed mode, and it'll give you a better look at them. Okay, those look fine. Let's move on to the eyeballs. Now we can get to the next subtool that's not even visible, but just by pushing the down arrow on the keyboard, or I guess the up arrow in this case, because it must be a higher up subtool in the menu there. Now for these, they're pretty simple too, so we can just click on Unwrap. Okay, and we'll flatten. That looks fine. Unflatten. Let's press up again to get to the brain. And I'll press Shift D to turn it onto unsmoothed mode. Now, if we try to unwrap the brain, there are all these little folds that are wrapping back on themselves, so that this is actually a very difficult unfolding problem. And if we try to run UV Master, you'll see this status bar come across the top indicating that some work is being done, and it'll say something about cutting handles, but it'll run and run and run for a very long time and almost certainly fail. So we have to give ZBrush a means of approaching this more simply. And we can do that by changing the configuration of the polygroups. Right now we have just one single polygroup that makes up the whole brain. Let's give it some more polygroups to work with. And we could do that under the polygroup panel. Now, auto groups isn't going to help us at all because that just makes it so that unwelded things will be different polygroups. What we have to do in this case is group by normals. And what that does is it looks at the surface angle of each of the parts. And any place where there's a significant change in that surface angle, it will make a different polygroup. Right now, the tolerance for the max angle is 45 degrees. You could play with this slider if you need to get these panels to break up separately. But we're just doing this really quick and dirty. I think this will be fine. So let's go back up top to unwrap. But before we do this, we need to make sure that polygroups is turned on so that it will use the polygroups to break this into different islands. So we'll click unwrap, and this will probably take a minute, so I'm going to pause the video. Oh, actually, it looks like it's going really fast. Let's see. We'll go to flatten, and it worked. Now, this is not really ideal for Unreal Engine. Using this for the texture map and for the light map, it will probably cause some problems, but we're just trying to demonstrate the basic way that UVs work. So we're going to just go with this. And we'll unflatten that.